العالمين الصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي وبعد. Inshallah, today we are reciting some hadith from the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And in our last lesson we had finished up to hadith number 1521. Inshallah, today we'll recite some more hadith in this chapter, and this is the chapter of the prohibited deeds, deeds which are prohibited in Islam, and of the first and foremost of them the prohibition of backbiting and the commandment to guard one's tongue. 1522 recites, عن معاذ رضي الله عنه قال قلت يا رسول الله أخبرني بعمل يدخلني الجنة ويباعدني من النار. Sayyidina Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu anhu arda is asking the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, tell me and inform me of such a good deed that will allow me to enter into Jannah and will take me far away from an-nar, from the fire. قال, so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لقد سألت عن عظيم, you have indeed asked of a great matter. وإنه ليسير على من يسره على من يسره الله تعالى عليه. So he said, you've asked about a great matter, and it's easy for those whom Allah makes it easy for them. And then he said, the things that we need to do in order to go to Jannah and stay away from Jahannam is تعبد الله لا تشرك به شيئا, to worship Allah alone and to not associate partners with Him. وتقيم الصلاة, and to establish the salah. وتؤتي الزكاة, and to give the zakah. وتصوم رمضان, and to fast in Ramadan. وتحج البيت, and to do hajj of the house, to do hajj of Makkah al-Mukarramah and the hajj pilgrimage. ثم قال, so we laid out to him the foundations of going to Jannah, which are the 5 pillars of Islam. Then thereafter he said, ألا أدلك على أبواب الخير, should I not direct you towards the doors of goodness? Should I not tell you of more good deeds which will be the doors of goodness for you to enter into Jannah? He said, from the doors of goodness and the doors of entry into Jannah is as-sawmu junnah, to fast is a protection and a guard for you against Allah's displeasure, punishment and Jahannam. This of course includes the Sawm, which is the fast of Ramadan, as well as any fast that we keep, whether it be the Sawm of the Sunnah fasting after Ramadan or during the week, or the hadith that says that the best of fasting is the fast of Sayyidina Dawood, that he used to fast one day and break one day, fast one day and break one day. But whenever and wherever the Sawm may be, the fast may be, it is a protection for you against Allah's displeasure. It is a protection for you from falling into sin, because fasting helps you to abstain from sins, especially the sins of desires. One of the instructions the Prophet ﷺ gave to us to abstain from sins of the eyes and the sins of the desires is to fast. So as-sawm is junnah, is a shield, is a guard, and it protects you from Allah's displeasure and Allah's disobedience. وَالصَّدَقَةُ تُطْفِئُ الْخَطِيئَ كَمَا يُطْفِئُ الْمَاءُ النَّارِ. And sadaqah and charity, sadaqah, charity, it extinguishes your sins and your wrongdoings just like the water extinguishes the fire. The Quranic ayah says, إِنَّ الْحَسَنَاتِ يُذْهِبْنَ السَّيِّئَاتِ. Good deeds, they expiate and remove and wash away and cleanse bad deeds. One of the best deeds in which we can and through which we can have our sins forgiven is sadaqah. Sadaqah, it eliminates and extinguishes bad deeds just like water extinguishes fire. وَصَلَاةُ الرَّجُلِ مِنْ جَوْفِ اللَّيْلِ. And from the best of your actions that you can do to go to Jannah and to stay away from Jahannam is the salah of a person in the middle of the night, i.e. tahajjud, i.e. qiyamul layl. Middle of the night, the last portion of the night. ثُمَّ تَلَى, then he recited the ayah of Surah Al-Sajdah, تَتَجَافَى جُنُوبُهُمْ عَنِ الْمَضَاجِعِ يدعون ربهم خوفا وطمعا ومما رزقناهم ينفقون فلا تعلم نفس ما أخفي لهم من قرة أعين جزاء بما كانوا يعملون. The believers are such تتجافى جنوبهم عن المضاجع. When the time of tahajjud comes and qiyamul layl comes, there is literally a distance created between their backs and their beds. It levitates and lifts away. There is a friction, you can say, between their backs and their beds when the time of salah comes, when the time of tahajjud comes. Their backs move away from their beds, and their sides move away from their beds. Anil madaji', from their beds. Why do they do that? This is a description of the believers. At tahajjud time, وَبِالْأَسْحَارِ هُمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. The believers, if you want to be a true believer and a higher level of iman and an elite believer, we have to wake up for tahajjud. We have to do istighfar during tahajjud. يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ. They are calling to their Lord. خَوْفًا, fear of Allah. وَطَمَعًا, and in hope of Allah. Fear of Allah's punishment, hope of Allah's reward. Fear of Allah's displeasure, hope of Allah's pleasure. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. The believers are the ones who establish salah and qiyamul layl, and they also give sadaqah. And then Allah says, فَلَا تَعْلَمُ نَفْسٌ مَا أُخْفِيَ لَهُم مِّن قُرَّةِ أَعْيُنٍ. No soul knows what Allah has hidden away for the reward, of the reward for them. جَزَاءً بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. For as reward for their good deeds that they have done. So brothers and sisters, the su'al and the question is very, very big. Sayyidina Mu'adh ibn Jabal is asking, Ya Rasulullah, tell me of such an action that will take me to Jannah and keep me away from the fire. He first and foremost lays out to us the foundation of Islam, which are the 5 pillars of Islam. Shahada, Salah, Zakat, Hajj. Sawm and Hajj. Wa Shahada, Salah, Sawm, Zakat and Hajj. These go to show us these are the most beloved actions. As we've said many, many times, and we'll keep on saying it because it's very important for us to note this, that there's nothing that you can do that Allah will love more than your fard. Many people, many Muslims, they are sometimes in illusions and they are confused and they think that certain nafal good deeds, they give it more priority than their fara'id. They don't do the obligations or abstain from the haram, and they will do extra nafal as if that will be enough. There is no amount of nafal that can ever equate to a fard. If someone was to do 1,000 raka'at of sunnah versus 2 raka'at of fajr, fard, the fajr will be better. Because that is which Allah has made fard. And there is no good deed that you can get closer to Allah with more than that which He has made fard. And that's why when he asked, what can I do to go to Jannah? He laid to him the 5 pillars of Islam. Then he encouraged him of special good deeds. Sawm, Sadaqah and Salah. And then he ﷺ said, ألا أخبركم برأس الأمر برأس الأمر ألا أخبرك برأس الأمر وعموده وذروة سنامه قلت يا رسول الله قلت بلى يا رسول الله قال رأس الأمر الإسلام. He said, should I not inform you thereafter, O Mu'adh, of the roof of this construct of Islam? What is the roof, the uppermost part? And what are the pillars of our Islam? And what is the highest point of our Islam? What is the epitome? What is the crux? What is the best part of the highest form of expression of your Islam? What is it? And what is the ceiling and the roof and the highest point of your Islam? What is it? And what is the pillar of Islam that which holds up our good deeds and our piety? He says, Ra'sul Amr, the head of the matter and the roof of the matter is submission in and of itself. Someone may be praying and doing their zakat and hajj, but they have not submitted. They haven't given up to Allah. They still want to have their opinion before Allah's. They haven't submitted. Islam is istislam, to do submit. We say commonly translate Islam means to peace. That's fine. Islam means to connect it to salam, which means peace. But Islam is istislam, to submit, where you put the will of Allah before your desires. That's what it means. So the ceiling and the high part of you being a believer is that you do istislam and you submit to Allah. So all of your fara'id and you're doing, even if you're doing it, if you're not submitting to Allah's will, and if you're not doing it for the sake of Allah and only for Allah's will, then it's not really, you haven't reached the peak of the matter. The head of the matter is that we do istislam. As for the pillars of that roof that is being held up, so what holds up our submission? What is the expression that shows that we have truly submitted? What are the pillars of that roof? The pillars of that roof are the 5 salawat. You can say, I submit to Allah, I obey Allah, I follow Allah's commands, but you don't pray, you don't submit to Allah. You don't obey Allah. Someone may say, oh, I'm a good Muslim, I just miss my salah sometimes. If your salah is missed because of an exceptional reason which is justifiable according to Sharia, that's a separate matter. But intentionally missing salawat and you being a good Muslim don't come hand in hand. They are rather juxtaposed and in the contrary, in contradicting. So the head of the matter, the top of the matter is submission, and that which holds up our submission is our salawat. How so? Every single time when you pray your 5 salawat, you are submitting to Allah. 5 times a day, putting behind whatever you have in your life, submitting to Allah, it shows that you have truly taken your Islam seriously. And the epitome and the climax of piety, the epitome, the highest point of your religiosity is when you can sacrifice for the sake of Allah. And the Arabic word that's used for that sacrifice, al-jihad. Now this is a word that is commonly misunderstood. So the epitome of our religiosity is when we sacrifice from the comforts and the pleasures of this life for the sake of Allah. From the comforts and the pleasures of this life for the akhirah. When we love the akhirah, when we love for the akhirah more than we love for this dunya. Yes. So this is when we know that our love for Allah is such that we are willing to sacrifice the pleasures and the leisures and the comforts of this life for the sake of Allah. That's what the hadith is saying. ثم قال ألا أخبرك بمالك ذلك كله ألا أخبرك. Sorry, my words are coming out a bit, pronunciation is coming out a bit slow today. ألا أخبرك بملاك ذلك كله. Should I not inform you that which holds all of this together? He said, yes, Ya Rasulullah. He said, if you want to hold all of this together, to be able to maintain your submission, maintain your salawat, maintain your zakat, and maintain your sawm and your hajj and everything else, all of that, for it to work together, for it to be culminating and working together systematically, for it not to be fall out, for all of it to be in the right place and to be consistent, for it to be holding into place, the most important thing, that which keeps it all in control, is, he told, Sayyidina Rasulullah took hold of his tongue. He said to keep your tongue under control. Subhanallah. How easily we underestimate the power of the tongue. According to this hadith, if we want all of our Islam to be in the right place and to be intact and to be working in the right order, right priority, then we need to learn to control our tongue. Because when you don't control our tongue, when we don't control our tongues, brothers and sisters, your heart dies. Your heart dies. Your heart becomes unaware. Your remembrance of Allah goes away. Your heart becomes hardened. So if your heart becomes hardened from the excessive talking and not controlling of the tongue, then all of that submission, whether it be for salat and zakat and hajj and sawm and everything else, will go away, will fade away. So he said to control your tongue. I asked, O Prophet of Allah, shall we really be accounted for what we talk? Is Allah really going to ask us for every single word? We say, Ya Rasulullah. Sayyidina Rasulullah says, may your mother lose you. It's an expression to say, what kind of comment is this? You know, of course, people will be thrown on their faces into the hellfire on account of their tongues. If you don't control our tongue, sometimes we'll say something so outrageous, so haram, so unforgivable, that Allah may punish someone in the hellfire because of it. So we have to watch our tongue. And we've been talking about the tongue in this whole chapter. It's a long hadith and it's a beautiful hadith. From the points that we take is that the 5 pillars of Islam are extremely important. And for all of those 5 pillars to work, we have to be continually submitting to Allah and doing it with complete submission and giving up our desires for the sake of Allah. And that if you want to hold on to that submission, then the first and foremost thing we need to maintain, I submit, I'm a Muslim, pray your salah. Yes. And control your tongue. And so on. Next hadith 1523. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أتدرون ما الغيبة؟ Sayyidina Rasulullah is asking, do you guys know what a ghiba is? Do you know what al-ghiba is? قالوا الله ورسوله أعلم. They said, Allah and His Messenger know best. So Prophet ﷺ is explaining to us what is ghiba. You know al-ghiba, the very famous sin. ذِكْرُ أَخَاكَ بِمَا يَكْرَهُ. He said ghiba, and the major sin of backbiting is when you mention your brother or your sister in their absence with something they dislike. Anything. He's got a small head. He's got a long nose. He's got big feet. He's fat. He's short. He's too tall. Too skinny. Talks funny. Weird. Weirdo. Whatever phrase, word, indication, body language you may use to mention your brother in their absence or your sister in their absence with something they dislike them, this is called ghiba. Anything. It could be a stare, like sometimes, you know, those of you who are going to school or going to work, sometimes that guy, the weird person comes in and you're like, that guy's here again. That is ghiba. That looking away, oh my God, not him again. Oh my God, not her again. This is all mentioning your brother in their absence while they don't know, in a way that they would not like. Would they like for you to know? Would they like that you mention them or indicate towards them in this manner? They wouldn't. That means it's ghiba. So the Sahaba said, well, what if it's true? A common question. It's true though. You said someone does ghiba about someone else. Oh, you're not supposed to do ghiba or backbiting. But it's true though. It's true about him or her. So the Prophet ﷺ explains to us, if it is true, then that's when it's ghiba. If it's true, then that's when it's ghiba. If it's not true, then it's not even ghiba, it's worse than that. It's a defamation, it's an accusation. فَقَدْ بَهَتَّ. If it's not true, then you have slandered that person. You have made something out that's not even true. So it's worse than ghiba. So be very careful, brothers and sisters, of this sin of the tongue, which is the ghiba. عن أبي بكرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال في خطبته يوم النحر بمنى في حجة الوداع إن دماءكم وأموالكم وأعراضكم حرام عليكم كحرمة يومكم هذا في شهركم هذا في بلدكم هذا ألا هل بلغت. Abu Bakr رضي الله عنه أرضاه narrated that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said in his farewell pilgrimage, which we've heard before many times, but this is profound. He said in his sermon during the farewell pilgrimage in the Hajj of the Prophet ﷺ, he said in Mina, in front of the entire Ummah that was present at that time, he said, verily your blood, your property and your honor are sacred and inviolable as the sanctity of this day of yours, in this month of yours and this town of yours. Verily I have conveyed this message to you. It is absolutely fundamental to remember that the rights of a person, the rights of a human being, the rights of a believer to have protection of their dignity, have protection of their physical existence, that they should never be harmed verbally or physically. This is such a huge and sacred right. The Prophet ﷺ said, it's like the sanctity of Hajj itself, like this sacred city, Makkah al-Mukarramah itself. عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت قلت للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حسبك من صفية كذا وكذا قال بعض الرواة تعني قصيرة فقال لقد قلت كلمة لو مزجت بماء البحر لمزجته قالت وحكيت له إنسانا فقال ما أحب أني حكيت إنسانا وإن لي كذا وكذا. Aisha radiallahu anha was narrated that I said to the Prophet ﷺ, once she was talking about another wives of the Prophet ﷺ, one of the wives, oh, such and such a person is like this, mentioning in negativity, and she was indicating Safiya radiallahu anha wa ardaha. So the Prophet ﷺ said, you have indeed uttered such a word which, if it was to be mixed with the waters of the sea, it would pollute the sea. It's an expression to say that ghiba is so bad. Mentioning a fellow human being, a fellow Muslim, in their absence in a way that they don't like it, is so haram and so poisonous that if it was to be mixed with the waters of the ocean, the water of the ocean will be polluted. Subhanallah. She further said, no, I didn't mean it. I was imitating somebody else. So then the Prophet ﷺ again reprimanded on that account as well and said, I would not like that I should imitate someone else even if they were to give me such and such amount of reward for it. You know, sometimes you are just doing ghiba of someone else because someone else done ghiba of someone else. As imitation of ghiba because it's funny, as a joke. He made a joke about that person, so you go and make a joke or copy that joke about that person. Both of it is haram. Yours and the other person's action of ghiba are both haram and forbidden. عن أنس قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لما عرج بي مررت بقوم لهم أظفار من نحاس يخمشون وجوههم وصدورهم فقلت من هؤلاء يا جبريل قال هؤلاء الذين يأكلون لحوم الناس ويقعون في أعراضهم. Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu are narrated, the Prophet ﷺ said, during the Mi'raj and the night of ascension, I saw a group of people who were scratching their chests and faces with copper nails. Meaning this time the Prophet ﷺ was shown on the night of Isra and Mi'raj one of the punishments of Jahannam. He saw a group of people that had copper nails, metal nails. And they were scratching and peeling off the flesh of their face and of their own chests. I asked, Sayyidina Rasulullah asked to Jibreel, who are these people, O Jibreel? Jibreel replied, alayhi these are the people who ate the flesh of others by backbiting and trample the honor of people. When you defame someone, do ghiba of someone, try to reduce from their qualities and reduce from their positive, identity by saying evil things about them, then this is a grave sin, a major sin whose punishment is being described here. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال كل المسلم على المسلم حرام دمه وعرضه وماله. Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه narrated, the Prophet ﷺ said, every aspect and every part of a believer is sanctified. We can't harm it, we can't affect it, we can't attack it. His blood, his honor, and the property of a Muslim are inviolable for another Muslim. They have to be respected, honored, and protected. We'll stop up to here, inshallah. Until next week, we shall inshallah continue from the following chapter. Bi-idhnillahi azza wa jal. Jazakumullah khairan. Are there any questions? If not, yes, sir. The third portion of the night is the best portion of the night for tahajjud, i.e. the hour and the time before the tulu' al-fajr. So whenever the fajr is beginning, the hour or 2 or 2.5, depending on your ability, however long you can stand, however long sleep you need, and so on. But that is the best time for tahajjud.
So it's like just 1 hour before the beginning.
1 hour before the fajr time. The last portion of the night.
And then 2 hours before the fajr starts.
So as you can wake up half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, depending on your ability. MashaAllah, some people have very big stamina, especially in the winter nights. They're able to go to sleep early. MashaAllah, they're waking up 2 hours before Fajr and they're praying tahajjud long time. They're doing long surah, long qiyam, long sujood, long ruku' and crying for all of their needs of this dunya and akhirah. That's the best time for tahajjud.
Minimum, how many rakat?
Tahajjud minimum is 2 rak'ah. But you can do 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 is the rak'at of tahajjud. Sometimes the Prophet ﷺ would do even more. But 8 is the rak'at of tahajjud. Okay? So you can pray 2, but each 2 you make it very long. The qiyam you make it very long. The sujood you make it very long. Ruku' you make it very long. How do you make it very long? By reciting long surahs. If you don't know long surahs, you can repeat the same surahs. Inshallah.
Salatul Ishraq after sunrise, 20 minutes later.
Yes.
Regarding this, how much is it? Is it something you do every day?
is very virtuous. It's one of the constant sunnahs of the Prophet ﷺ, that he would wait after Salatul Fajr until the Tulu' al-Fajr, until the Tulu' al-Shams, or until the sun is rising, and he'd wait and he would pray those the Salatul Ishraq or Salatul Duha. He would pray those 4 rak'at. He'd pray 2, 4, 6, even 8 sometimes. It's very virtuous, and there's many virtues of them, and their reward. So it's definitely a great sunnah to follow. بارك الله فيكم. سبحانك اللهم اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. السلام عليكم ورحمه الله وبركاته.